If you're in sales right now and you're not hitting your quota, there is one reason and one reason only, and I'm about to share it with you. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to make you wait till the end of the video to learn what that one thing is. It is the process. I'm Kyle Milan, and I have been in sales and marketing for the last 20 plus years. And I've worked with a lot of different people, and there's always one common initial area of what's lacking performance. You may think that it's the follow-up. You may think that it is the way that they're scripting. Do all those things come into play? Yes, but the main point is the process. Honestly, the acronym really doesn't matter. Everybody creates their own, but so many times I've run into salespeople that have been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, and I ask them, just as a general tongue-in-cheek kind of question, like, what framework do you use? You'd be shocked how many times people are like, I don't follow a framework, I just sell. And you'd also be shocked at how many times people say like, oh, I learned this process from this school or this platform or this training thing, and I follow this. They're all basically the same. Let's go through them, the most common ones out there. Number one is IBM's BANT. If we go all the way back in time, and if you Google search this or ChatGPT it and say, what's the most popular framework for sales? You'll come into IBM's original 1950s framework of BANT. It is budget, authority, need, timeline. That's how they started training their salespeople in the 50s. That's how they probably still do train them. It's most likely the most well-known of anybody that's been out there in the sales space and is like, I want to learn how to sell. I need some sort of framework for the sales process. There's all these different people doing it. What's the best one? People are like, dude, you got to do IBM's BANT. That is the way to do it. With IBM's BANT, you've got the budget going up first, authority. So they're like, do you have the money and are you the right person to answer that question and close with? Do you have a need for it? And then what's your timeline, right? So budget, authority, need, timeline. Do you have the money? Do you have the authority to make the decision? Do you have the need for the thing that I'm trying to sell you, service or product? And what's your timeline so I know how aggressive I need to be with you? The second one's spin selling, solution, problem, implication, need. You can go after MEDDIC, MEDDIC. It's metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, identify pain, and then champion or paper process, etc. But still, they're following similar framework. You have to know if they have a budget. You have to know if they're authoritative. You have to know if there is a need, and you got to generally know the timeline. How you change the nomenclature still doesn't matter. Let's go to the next one, the challenger sale. So challenger sale is teach, tailor, take control. So they're like, you know what? We don't want to mess with all these other lengthy acronyms. We want our stuff to be simple. Teach, tailor, take control. So teach is like the awareness part where they're like explaining probably what it is that they offer, what the service is, etc. And then they're tailoring it to the person that they're talking to through some sort of discovery process. And then take control, people in sales training will be like, if you don't have control of the sale and the buyer does, then you're not going to close. Sure. Yep. You can follow that too. Next one's closer. Anybody out there that's been watching newer age people in sales, you know Alex Hermozi, sales marketing business guru. He's got the closer formula. So he said, I want to start with the acronym closer, which makes more sense, right? You're in sales, you want to be a closer. His closer formula is clarify, label, overview, sell the vacation, explain, and reinforce. So his is a little bit lengthier, but his descriptions are very short to it. He's not going to say like, here's 500 words of what this means. He's a very straight to the point guy if you follow any of his content. So he follows the closer framework. It's made him hundreds of millions of dollars, as have all of these frameworks made other people hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, if you go over the course of time and around the globe. And the last one, there's tons of people that are out there that I've talked to that are like, I follow the Sandler sales training method. They have the Sandler submarine. Don't know why they call it that, because it's not a submarine and it doesn't spell submarine, but their Sandler submarine is bonding and rapport, upfront contact, pain, budget, decision, fulfillment, and post-sell. So again, you can follow whatever process you want. You can follow whatever framework you want. You can create your own framework from this. The point I'm making is that there is a process to sales. It is not just a show up and throw up. It's not just a let me talk the whole time and then ask you a couple questions. There has to be a process. Let's look specifically at two of them. The IBM, which is the most popular one, BANT. Budget, what does it mean? Do they have the funds? Already talked about that. The authority, are they the decision maker? Is the person that you're talking to the decision maker? Because if you know that they're not the decision maker, then you have to make sure you understand either who the decision maker is or what that decision maker is looking for. So you're not going to get from the get-go and be like, hey, do you even have the money for this solution? I'm selling this product or I'm selling this service. Do you even have the money? No, you're not going to lead with that. But but you're going to weave it into the questions as part of the discovery process. Because I look at it as sales is the first part is discovery. I first have to understand what is it that made you come out and reach out to me. If it's an inbound lead, if it's an outbound lead and I'm talking to them, what is it that I said that made you want to actually continue the conversation? What problem are you having? And then let them talk. You should be talking like 20-30% of the time. The discovery process is mainly about them. You have to first identify what the problem is. That does not matter if you walk into a Firestone service center to get your oil change, or you have a problem with your car. You walk into a car dealership to buy something. Somebody cold calls you out of the blue to sell you a service. You walk into any sort of retail store, or you're Google searching anything online to find somebody to solve your problem. You have to, as the person selling the solution, you have to identify the problem and really like get in there and ask as many questions as possible so you can understand the pain that they're having and the emotional state that it's putting them in. So if we compare BANT to Closer, so we're looking at IBM 1950s to Hermozi's Closer 2000 late teens to 20s. Closer is C for clarify. So you got to understand why they're there. That's like the discovery process, right? This is why I generally like the Closer formula better. I don't follow this to a T where when I'm doing the sales process, I'm not like, okay, first, did I get the first C in Closer? Yep, I got that done. Now I can move on to the first L. No. So clarify, understand why they're there, label, define their core problem. So what label are you placing on it? So why are you here and what's your core problem? Then the next one is O, which is an overview, review what's been tried. So if somebody comes to you with a problem and you're identifying it and you're pulling that out of them, asking them what solutions have you tried in the past? That gets to understand, possibly leads into, oh, you tried that solution? How much did that cost you? You can understand how much money that they've forked into this solution. The next one is S, sell the vacation. So paint the dream outcome. So it's like you've got this problem, you've tried these things, and I understand your pain behind it. And the dream vacation is if I can do all of these things for you, if my solution can solve all of these things, you're starting to put them in that state of like, yes, that's exactly what I want. So you're then now at this point, you're like getting towards the solution part of solution selling. The next one is explain, address concerns and objections. So after you paint the vacation and after you paint the picture of like, I'm going to solve your problems with this thing, then you need to address the concerns. Like, do you have any concerns on what I said? Do you understand what I'm saying, etc.? And explain to be able to circumvent those concerns from the get-go. Like, does that sound like something that you would be interested in? Or does this framework and the way that we do things, does that work for you guys and your team? And the last one is reinforce. So confirm decision and commitment with reinforcement. So it all comes down to the simple basics of, and I haven't created my own acronym yet, but I'm sure that we will at some point. But it's down to the process of identify the problem. You have to offer up a solution. You have to understand the budget, which you should be able to do through identifying how deep the problem is. And then you have to build the trust, because if they don't trust you, it does not matter how good your process is. You can follow the Sandler submarine. You should put a little submarine like floating around when I do that. You could do the Sandler submarine. You could do Hermozi's. You can do the spin selling. You can do MEDDIC. You can do whichever process you want or framework. But if they don't trust you, all that's out the window. So really, it's like trust is overall everything. In order for you to close somebody to have an exchange of money for a service or a product, they have to trust that whatever they're buying from you, the money that they're spending, is going to solve their problem or solve their emotional state. They're super unhappy, and your solution, maybe it's a candy bar, is going to make them happy. Tub of ice cream, or they're having a midlife crisis and they're like, hey, I want that fast sports car, exotic car. That's going to solve their emotional pain that they have. Regardless, they have to trust that the solution that they're making is sound, whether it's emotional or logical, and they have to trust that. So if they don't trust you, they're not going to ever close with you. And most salespeople just look at it from the standpoint of, I know how to sell. I'm going to have a conversation. They think that sales is always about talking. I'm going to offer them up pricing, and it's usually a one-sided conversation. Salespeople are leading with, here's the things that I want to tell you about. Here's the solutions that we can solve. Whereas as soon as the first two things that you say, the first two examples, the first two services, the first two products, the first two things that your products or services fix, as soon as you offer those first two that are not relevant to them, they stop listening. If they stop listening, then there's no way that you're going to get them back to actually get them to engage, to then learn more about the discovery process of what is their pain point or problem. They're just going to shut down and be like, yeah, that's not something that I'm interested in. Marketers do the same thing. I see it from current, past, and I will continue to see it from future clients doing some cold outbound advertising, emails, whatever it is. I would say it should be done this way. And they're like, no, you got to do it like this. We got to list out the benefits. Nobody wants to know the benefits until you can even understand if there's a problem. So how could you possibly offer up a solution? Because what if those 4 bullet points that you picked, because that's what you think is most important, isn't even relevant to them, and you left them to the point where they're like, nope, that doesn't solve a problem. Next. They're walking down a trade show, they look at it, nope, I don't have that issue. Next. You have to have open-ended questions to be able to understand what is their pain point. And you can say, look, we were at a trade show, Pack Expo, in Vegas, and when we were talking to one of our customers that we were shooting content in their booth, I said to the sales guy, I said, hey, that when people come into this booth, I'm assuming that they already solved the problem that you guys are offering a solution to, and they currently have a method of doing it, right? It's either like one of 3 ways, one of 5 ways, one of 10 ways. They're already solving it somehow. So first you have to identify it as soon as somebody walks in, if you are doing this, then you're probably doing it with one of these 3 things, and I'm going to tell you why for each one of those 3 things, the solution that we have is better. So you're instantly hooking them, because as long as they have one of those 3 methods that they're currently solving their problem with, they're going to listen. If they have a 4th or a 5th, they're probably gonna be like, nope, I don't have those issues. But they might be like, but I used to, or I've heard people having those issues, and they're gonna listen more. So that's like the hook. So in order to hook them, you have to ask them questions like, if I can wave a magic wand and solve all your problems in this area right now, what would they be? Sit back and listen. Again, you're talking 20-30% of the time most. After you get discovery, you offer up the solution, you reinforce it, you try and build that trust. After you offer the solution, then you hit them with pricing. You've built the trust, you offer up a solution. They're gonna be less sticker shock based on the pricing. Then from there, it moves into closing. When you're closing them, it's just, you don't want to go back to selling and offering up that solution again. What you're doing is you're reinforcing the part where your solution solves their problem. It's a big enough pain point. Therefore, it is worth the money for them to spend, whether it's monthly, annually, one time, it does not matter. And then from there, it's just continued follow-up. Until they say no to you, this is dead. You got to continue to follow up and change your methods of follow-up. So those are all like the details. But if you don't follow a process, that is the one thing that is drastically holding back your success. I don't care if you're selling high ticket items, low ticket items, B2B, B2C, you have to follow a process. If you guys got value out of this information, share it with one person you know. Hit me up on LinkedIn, give me a follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and I'll see you on the next one.